Before we begin, take a deep breath, because what you're about to hear may challenge everything you've been taught about pain, about addiction, and about God. Thoth once said, "The greatest teachers hide their lessons in suffering." And perhaps what you call addiction is not a punishment, but a form of divine communication. What if every relapse, every craving, every desperate search for something to fill the void was never random? What if your darkness has been the language through which the divine has been trying to reach you? Because you see, God doesn't always speak through serenity. He speaks through chaos, through longing, through the ache of separation. The divine voice often hides inside the very thing we've been taught to fear, our shadow. Addiction, in this sense, is not just about substances or habits. It's about the soul's hunger for reconnection, a thirst for source disguised as dependency. The bottle, the pill, the desire, the escape. They are distorted reflections of something sacred, your ancient memory of union with the infinite. When Thoth looked into the nature of human suffering, he didn't see sin. He saw initiation, the refining fire that forces the soul to remember its power. He taught that every descent into darkness is a coded message, a reminder that we've been chasing externally what was always meant to be found within. So when you think of addiction, don't see it as failure. See it as the soul's rebellion against numbness, its desperate attempt to feel alive again. Because even in your lowest moments, something in you still seeks meaning. Something in you refuses to give up, and that something is the divine spark. Every breakdown, every moment of guilt, every night spent asking why, is a sacred dialogue between you and the universe. It's the moment when the illusion of control collapses and the true teacher finally enters. You may not realize it yet, but you are being observed, not by judgmental eyes, but by the consciousness of God, witnessing your journey through polarity. Every step into shadow is recorded, not as sin, but as data, energy, experience, alchemy. And Thoth understood this, that before enlightenment, the soul must first forget. It must wander through illusion to rediscover truth by contrast. Addiction, then, is not the end. It's the beginning of awakening through contrast. So if you've been trapped in cycles you don't understand, if you've been haunted by your own reflection, stay with me until the end of this message, because by the time this video ends, you will no longer see your pain as a curse. You'll see it as a doorway, one that leads directly into remembrance. This is not about guilt. This is about decoding the voice of God that speaks through your very suffering. Because sometimes, the only way the divine can reach you is through the silence that follows your collapse. And if you're here now, hearing these words, it means your awakening has already begun. Addiction is not simply a chemical reaction, it's a spiritual rebellion. It's the soul's cry against separation, the sacred protest of a being who remembers what oneness feels like, but can no longer touch it. It is the echo of eternity within a human heart that has forgotten its source. Thoth taught that every desire is a distorted echo of the original desire, the yearning to return to the divine mind. He wrote that all forms of craving, all hunger for pleasure or escape, are fragments of the same cosmic memory, the memory of the moment the soul first fell from the realm of unity into the realm of duality. When you seek comfort in substances, in people, in distractions, you are not weak. You are searching for God in form. You are reaching unconsciously for that lost vibration of total connection. Every sip, every smoke, every moment of escape is the spirit's desperate attempt to feel infinite again. But here lies the tragedy. Not in the addiction itself, but in the forgetting, in mistaking the shadow for the source. Because the high fades, the escape collapses, and after the rush, there's only the void, the reminder that what you're seeking cannot be found in matter. Thoth said, "The fool chases the reflection of the sun in the water. never realizing he is made of light himself. In addiction, you are that seeker, drawn to the reflection, the illusion of light, while the true radiance burns quietly within you, waiting to be remembered. Pain, then, becomes the hidden voice of the divine. It is not the enemy, it is the messenger. When the soul drifts too far from its essence, pain emerges as a compass, a signal that says, "You have wandered from the source. Come home." Every craving carries a code. Every collapse, every relapse, every night you swore it would be the last is not proof of failure, but evidence that the divine refuses to let you forget who you are. It keeps calling you through the ache, through the guilt, through the longing. Because pain, when listened to, transforms into direction. It becomes the whisper that guides you back toward remembrance. It is through the breakdown that the breakthrough happens, through the wound that the light enters. Thoth observed that the path of the initiate is not linear. It spirals, ascending, descending, repeating until understanding crystallizes. So when you find yourself back in the same patterns, don't curse the loop, study it. Every repetition is refinement. Every relapse carries revelation. You are not broken. You are in translation, decoding divine language written in the syntax of suffering. And if you could see yourself as Thoth does from the higher planes, you would understand that nothing in your story has been wasted. Not the shame, not the tears, not even the nights you thought you were beyond redemption. All of it was sacred data, experience transforming into wisdom. Your addiction is not proof that you are far from God. It is proof that you are still reaching for Him, that even buried beneath illusion, the spirit within you refuses to be silent. So the next time you feel that ache, that pull toward escape, pause. Ask yourself, what is this really asking for? Because beneath the craving for pleasure lies the craving for peace. Beneath the desire for escape lies the desire for remembrance. And beneath every shadow lies the same light you came from. The universe does not punish, it teaches. And the lesson hidden within your pain is this: you have never been separated. You have only been asleep. If these words resonate with you, comment below and share what you feel. Because when one soul speaks its truth, another awakens from silence. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. This space exists to remember the lost teachings of Thoth and to remind those who are ready, even your suffering is sacred. Even your darkness can be your teacher. You were made for something infinite. In Hermetic wisdom, Thoth revealed that descent always precedes ascension. Before light can expand, it must first enter the depths of shadow. The seed must be buried before it can bloom. And so, the soul, in its infinite intelligence, chooses experiences that appear to break it, but in truth are awakening it. Addiction then is not just suffering, it is initiation. It is the alchemical fire that burns through illusion, stripping the spirit down to its raw essence. Every collapse, every moment of loss, every night consumed by the same cycle is the flame doing its sacred work, dissolving what is false so only truth remains. Thoth taught that the soul cannot rise without first remembering what gravity feels like. It must descend into form, into desire, into attachment, to rediscover its own strength to transcend them. Without the fall, there is no flight. Without darkness, light has no contrast. So the pain you've carried, the mistakes you've made, the shame that once seemed endless, none of it was wasted. They were all sacred catalysts. You were never outside of your path. You were being refined within it. The ancient initiates of Egypt understood this mystery well. They didn't flee from shadow, they entered it willingly. They walked through isolation, faced madness, temptation, despair, not to be destroyed, but to alchemize chaos into wisdom. Each fall was a sacred stage of transformation, each failure a step toward illumination. To fall is not to fail, it is to learn the hidden geometry of the soul's journey, the sacred spiral that descends only to rise higher than before. The addiction that once enslaved you becomes the crucible that awakens you. The void you feared becomes the womb of creation. And when you finally stop fighting the fall, when you surrender to its purpose, something miraculous happens. The ashes become fertile, the darkness begins to whisper, and from within the very place you thought would end you, you start to feel life again, not as escape, but as rebirth. So if you have fallen, if you've wandered far from your light, remember this. Your descent was not punishment. It was sacred preparation. You were not lost, you were being tempered. Because only those who have known the depths can truly hold the heights, and only those who have walked through fire can understand the power of light. When the soul has suffered enough, when it has tasted the full bitterness of separation, a silence begins to form inside, and in that silence, beneath the noise of craving, beneath the weight of regret, something ancient begins to whisper again. It's not the voice of guilt, it's not the voice of failure, it's the voice of remembrance. Thoth teaches that suffering refines perception. Those who have walked through darkness don't return empty-handed, they return radiant, carrying the fire they once feared. Because when you descend into the underworld and survive, you don't just heal yourself, you become the healer of others. You start to recognize pain differently. You no longer judge those who are lost because you remember what it felt like to be lost. You no longer chase the illusion of perfection because you've seen the sacredness within imperfection itself, and that is what makes you chosen. Being chosen was never about superiority. It was never about being more divine than others. It means you were entrusted with experience, the kind that cracks you open so the light can pour through. The addiction, the heartbreak, the isolation, all of it was part of your initiation into deeper empathy, because only those who have known the depths can hold the space for another's healing. Thoth called such souls the returned ones, those who fall into forgetfulness only to rise with wisdom the world desperately needs. You see, the universe doesn't waste pain. Every relapse, every night you thought was your last, every tear shed in secret, it was all shaping you. The fire didn't destroy you, it forged you. It carved away everything false until only truth remained. Think of the lotus. It blooms from the mud, yet no one calls the mud unholy. The darkness nourishes the light. Your shadow was the soil for your awakening. Without it, you wouldn't have learned compassion. You wouldn't have developed the heart that feels the suffering of others as your own. That is why the chosen often carry the heaviest burdens, because through their healing, entire lineages heal. Through their transformation, timelines shift. You didn't just break a cycle, you rewrote the script of your soul's evolution. Thoth's wisdom reminds us, when the initiate has seen enough of illusion, the veil begins to thin, and when the veil thins, you begin to see that nothing was ever against you. It was all orchestrated for you. The very thing you thought disqualified you from divinity was actually the key to remembering it. So if you're hearing this now and you feel that spark of truth inside you, know this. You were never forgotten. You were being refined. Every breakdown was a sacred conversation with the infinite. Every relapse was not proof of failure, but proof of endurance. Proof that your soul refused to give up on its mission. The ones who have suffered and risen are not broken, they are blessed. They carry frequencies of understanding that cannot be taught through comfort. Their scars are sigils, proof of transformation, proof that matter itself can remember God. So take a breath. Look at where you've been. You've walked through darkness and emerged with light in your hands. You've heard the voice of silence and remembered the truth. You were never meant to escape your humanity. You were meant to make it sacred, because the chosen are not the untouched. They are the transformed. And now, your return is the proof that even the deepest night eventually remembers the dawn. So now you understand. Addiction was never God's rejection. It was His conversation with you. Every craving was a question your soul asked the divine. Every surrender, every breaking point was an answer echoing back. Thoth's message has always been clear, yet only the awakened can hear it. What you seek through illusion, you shall one day find in truth. Because everything you chased in the external world, the comfort, the peace, the love, was a reflection of what already existed within you, waiting to be remembered. The fire you walked through wasn't meant to destroy you, it was meant to reveal you. The same force that burned away your illusions also forged your light. And that's why you were chosen. Not because you were perfect, but because you were willing to face the parts of yourself that others run from. Now you see it clearly. Addiction was not the end of your path, it was the turning point. The sacred mirror that showed you what your soul was truly longing for. Not escape, but return. Not numbness, but remembrance. Not death, but resurrection. So if this message resonates with you, if something deep inside you stirs as you hear these words, I want you to declare it right now in the comments below. Thoth, I am ready to heal. Write it not just as words, but as a vow to your higher self. Because when you speak those words, you signal to the universe that you're ready to co-create your healing consciously. And the moment you do, the quantum field begins to respond. Your energy starts to recalibrate, and the very patterns that once imprisoned you begin to dissolve. Subscribe to this channel, not out of routine, but because you know this message found you for a reason. Every video here carries a frequency meant for those who are remembering who they are. And if this message touched you, share it with someone still lost in their storm, because sometimes one whisper of truth can awaken an entire lifetime of light. Remember this always, the divine never stops speaking. Sometimes he whispers through silence, other times he speaks through the fire, but always, always, he speaks to his chosen ones. And if you are here, hearing these words right now, then you were never lost. You were being guided home.